Hey everyone, welcome to Political Radar Echo, 30 minutes of political talk about current topics with panelists from a variety of viewpoints. I'm your host, Cassandra, and this is episode number 11.
This is Political Radar Echo with Cassandra, where we cover many political issues affecting our country with a panel of guests from many viewpoints.
Today's panelists are Erik and Jenn Schiavo. Welcome.
Thank you, Cassandra. My name's Erik Hoyer. I'm a Brown County supervisor. I'm involved in this in a number of different ways. Academically, I'm a former biology professor and I taught classes such as biopsychology, so I know about the interaction between these important these drugs and the complications of them. As a county supervisor, I am the vice chair of the Mental Health Task Force, and we're wrestling with AODA and the confluence of ADA and mental health issues. And then I'm also married to a physician, so I kind of have been observing how opioids in the medical field have changed over the last 20 years or so.
Right, and we're going to be talking about the national emergency that was declared, so that's what he was referring to. Jenn, quick introduction.
I'm Jenn Schiavo. I am a 100% disabled veteran now at this time, so my background was armed services. I also graduated from University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee with a degree in IT, and I had a few good years, and then I got really sick. So today I'm here in the capacity of the chronic pain patient, and I'm lucky enough to still be being treated, but I know that a lot of people aren't, and that is a big fear that everybody's focusing on the national emergency for opioids, and they're going to focus on the heroin and the drugs and, cut down more on this. And then there's people that are truly ill. They've never done anything wrong except get sick, and they're losing access to medications that do work. And this crap with opioids don't work. No, they do. They do. They have their place. And if they're used correctly and they're monitored correctly, then they are a good medication.
All right. So Jenn is a second-time panelist, so welcome back.
Thank you.
You get to
Thanks for having me.
You get to punch your card. We haven't decided after so many punches. I think we're going to give a free gift, maybe.
I like coffee.
Okay, great. Yours will be coffee. Fantastic. So what we're talking about is recently President Trump declared the opioid crisis a national emergency. I was telling them earlier, this is actually one of 29 national emergencies that we're under at this point. So I'm not really sure what that means, national emergency, but basically, he's saying that they're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money on the opioid crisis. And this came after his commission on combating drug addiction, which was led by Governor Chris Christie. They gave a preliminary report, and they urged him to declare this a national emergency. He says from their report that basically the overdose death toll from opioids is quoted to say it's a September 11th every 3 weeks.
Okay, and then the problem with these totals is they do not break them down.
Well, let's just look at ODs, okay?
Yeah, so let's start.
From an overdose perspective, this is, in fact, a crisis. We're not trying to take away the drugs. We're trying to understand how prescriptions work. The reason opioids are in this position is because they do work so well. Mm-hmm. And if you look back about 10 years ago, the average number of overdoses due to heroin nationally was about 2,000. The last couple of years, it's more like 10,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Just Brown County, between 2006 and 2008, 3-year period 10 years ago, there were 4 heroin overdoses. Between 2013 and 2015, there were 48 overdoses to heroin. This is absolutely an emergency. And what is an emergency about it is how it's killing people. It's not an emergency that we need to take away the drugs. That
is what they're trying to do.
Right. So we're talking about heroin.
Okay, from our point of view, and it's not how do you see that? I actually see it. I actually have acquaintances. I have friends that I've been on the phone with, and these people are good patients. We are treated as if we are on parole. I've never been to jail. I served my country.
So let's bring it back, but let's talk just about heroin right now.
Okay, just heroin?
Well, let's just talk
I don't
about
know anything about
heroin
that.
right now. Street level heroin.
But didn't we
which-
have that same drive to a national emergency in the 80s with cocaine, the 90s with crack,
Yeah, I think
the
I think
early
that's,
2000s with meth?
Right. So obviously we're a country that has addiction issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
And right now, the issues, I mean, and yes, methamphetamines, I can give you all sorts of stats on what our county drug task force has found on methamphetamines. And we're relatively lightly impacted by that compared to some of the other counties in the Midwest with meth. But we're just talking about opioids. And
No, she said heroin this time.
Yeah.
well,
so
heroin is an opioid.
Yes, it is, but let's not group them together. That's where we get in trouble.
I get it.
Okay.
But the question is, what is the, from the presidential level, when he talks about an opioid crisis, is he meaning all classes? Is there a codeine crisis? Are too many people getting codeine cough syrup? No.
Right.
What we're talking about, and what we're talking about at the county level, is issues of heroin. We're not worried about prescription. I understand the implications and the consequences all too well. I've had loved ones go through surgery, and my father was very much like, he's very German heritage, and he, when he had his knee replaced, he was very much like boom, boom, boom. I know exactly when I'm taking it, how much I'm taking it, because he's a physician. He's very conscious of it.
Right.
Other people in my life have had such pain and have requested things,
And couldn't get them.
and really they were being doled out very much, in a way that under. So I understand your perspective, absolutely, but what we're talking about at the county, I don't care what brought it about. There are people dying due to heroin, and we need to, as a type of opioid. And yes, there is that shit. The story we tell is that those that are given prescriptions are shifting over to the illegal opioids because they have the same impact, the same numbing effect, the same relief effect, but are more easily available than
And
the
can you
pharmacy.
see true patients are actually having to go that route?
Right.
I mean, they need some kind of pain relief. Either, if you're giving us the choice to go to the streets or eat a bullet. I mean,
yeah, and that is the story that we hear a lot, is that people are prescribed it and then it's taken away,
whether they're
and then
stable or not.
Yeah, and then they go immediately to street level heroin, and I don't know what the
I've certainly
numbers
talked
are.
to a few people, case studies, one-on-one. I've talked to people who have gone through that process. But
I have to.
how, is it 10%, 50%, 90%
Right.
that of these heroin deaths? Because,
Right.
so you almost have to separate the pain issue from the drug issue.
Yes.
Right.
Which is weird.
It should have always
Right.
been separated, though.
Right. And we've discussed before the show, I have a friend who died of a heroin overdose. But he did not get those prescriptions legally. He did not, he
was not a
wasn't
legitimate
like
patient.
Jen, or he didn't have a surgery or anything. He was seeking those out illegally, and it did lead him to heroin. So I don't necessarily see that everybody who gets opioids
Yeah,
for
it's not
something
everybody.
is going right to heroin, or the people who are on heroin didn't necessarily get them prescribed legally. They might have been seeking them out for different reasons.
Recreation.
Right, for a recreational reason.
Or the mental health aspect of that is that opioids do raise your mood. People with
Right.
mood disorders, that can.
Right,
Well,
and
I think it goes to a larger conversation about pain, because if you think about it, we're actually relatively comfortable talking about physical pain. I broke my arm. Oh, can I sign your cast? Tell me about it. How did it happen?
Yeah.
I'm feeling depressed. Talk about your arm again.
Yeah,
it's
they don't wanna talk about it.
They don't
Yeah.
want to deal with
Right.
that kind of pain.
And that can be just as painful.
Of course.
right.
And no one really knows what pain you feel.
Exactly. It's subjective. Pain is subjective.
It
Right.
is. I've had headaches and I've had migraines.
Yeah.
And I've listened to people say, I have a migraine right now, and I'm like, dude, you are moving way too much. I'm sorry, but
Right.
You're not vomiting.
right.
You can move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so
Right.
it's a challenge, to kind of say, okay, well, what's my pain? What's your pain? How do you fix it? And usually, they're the top three things I do, but there's medicine as well. We try to, deal with our pain as
And they have used in the past opioids as kind of like an antidepressant. It has been. I don't have any links because I left all my stuff at home.
I don't think it's been prescribed in that way in a long time. There are a lot.
No,
of
I mean,
much
yes.
better.
Long time.
Right, long time ago.
But then you bring up heroin here. I mean, heroin was a medication. It started as a medication, and it's still used in other countries in the hospital as pain relief. Pharmaceutical grade heroin.
There's not much. I mean, chemically looking at the structures of these chemicals, morphine. These chemicals are all very closely related.
Yeah.
They have that class, and they impact the opioid receptors in
Yes.
our central nervous system. So it's, they all have sort of that similar impact.
Yeah.
Right. So I was looking up, it did come up between the two of you that when we talk about ODs, a lot of times what is brought up is an overall
Yeah.
picture. For 2015, it says there were 52,404 overdoses in the country, but that was all drugs. So I looked it up on the CDC, and opioids are a little more than 33,000 deaths from opioids, but that doesn't
That's
break
not even
down
broken down
to,
further,
Right, that's not broken down further to whether it's heroin or
Poppy tea or hydrocodone. We don't know.
And you work on the mental health task force here in our county, in Brown County. So do you see a relationship between people using these and mental health?
I think it strikes to that
Pain and mental health. I mean,
it strikes to that conversation that we kind of need to have about these different types of pain, mental health pain, and essentially the overlap. If we were going to Venn diagram it out, the overlap between those with mental health issues and those with drug issues, especially, there's quite a, addiction is essentially a mental health issue, and that's not trying to be offensive. As long as we can talk about mental health issues and say depression is a thing, addiction is a thing,
It is.
Yeah.
and these are things that impact us, rather than that sort of old school, it's a character flaw.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Pull yourself up by your
Yeah.
bootstraps. That was the thing in the 80s, I think, with the
whole thing
Reagans.
you're saying separate this pain out. These people that need pain pills just because, I've been on them for a while. If you've been on them for a while, if they're taken away, you're going to get just as sick as someone who doesn't legitimately have a pain problem or a prescription. And you're going to be just as ill. And you're going to feel that that's gone because your body's used to having it. So then, a lot of pain patients are, oh my God, I'm addicted, I'm an addict. No, you are physically dependent. There is a difference,
Right.
a big difference.
So what do we do? And we're going to move into a little bit more on the pain side as we get about halfway through here, the episode. But what do we do now? So we've separated it out. Pain patients, different thing. They shouldn't be categorized here. What do we do, though, for the people who are addicted to painkillers or to heroin? What do we do in law enforcement? What do we do as a community? How do we help them? Because I don't think that we arrest our way out of this. I don't think throwing these people in jail
Basically.
is the way to do it. So what do we do? What are your thoughts on that, Erik?
Well, we, a number of different things. I think, one thing is we have a diversion court. The heroin court is one of our many. We have a mental health court, veterans court, and we had a drug court, but we had to specifically create a heroin court to deal with the number of individuals specifically with heroin and addiction to heroin, and whether they're using it because it was a pain issue or whether it was a recreational. I think ultimately you're dealing with someone who's an addict, and whatever road led them there. But what this court tries to do is divert, not send them to prison, and try to give them the structure, the social services, and whatnot to try
Basically
to.
the help that they need.
Exactly. One of the difficult things with our a couple of years ago, we started this this mental health initiatives, $1.15 million, and we talk about detoxification. Well, unfortunately, the county's kind of put in a bind because we need to deal with things that can kill you.
Yeah.
And
Opioids usually won't.
yeah, detoxification.
Oh, you
from
feel like you're going to die.
Well, absolutely. Whether it's quickly through Narcan or whether it's
Yeah.
over a longer period of drying out, if you will.
Yeah.
But alcohol and detoxification
Yep.
is can have medical consequences.
Seizures and benzos are in that class. Yeah.
Exactly. So as a result, it's sort of that long-term alcohol issues of our community, which are
Deep.
still another numbing factor if we're honest
Yeah.
with it.
In case people are watching from somewhere else, we are in Wisconsin. Drinking culture it's just ingrained in this culture, and especially here in Green Bay, it's ingrained. So I think it is definitely something that needs to be tied into this. It is a numbing factor. It's another outlet for people.
It's another addiction.
Absolutely. So what we've so we do have the diversion court. Essentially, the detoxification can, if arrested, can actually occur in prison. But it's probably the worst possible place for detoxification, whether it be alcohol or drug of any sort. It's not a great place to do that at all.
Yeah, and I would agree. I shared that my friend who passed away, he was actually he was arrested and put through the criminal justice system, and I often wonder if he had gone differently and been placed into more of a detox and recovery center, would he still be
There's
around?
so few
Yeah,
of those places, and there's hardly ever a bed available, or it's not available when you need it. When somebody needs it, there's a wait.
yeah.
It's just
There's no wait when you're a heroin addict. I don't think there should be a wait.
Is, no.
So do you think that that declaring this national emergency is going to help you at the county level as a supervisor and as a chair of mental health? Do you think that this is going to free up money for you? Is it going to?
There is no money. I'm sorry.
Well, no. But if it's declared an emergency and federal money comes down towards us, we're losing a lot of money in other areas, and just the way the budgeting works, it kind of trickles. It really does trickle down from the federal to state to local. Mm-hmm. Honestly, though, I can't see this being anything but local solutions to.
Yeah, we can't federal government this.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
a one size fits all,
No.
and you can't. I don't see national initiatives really. I mean, they might make a difference, but I can only see really true impact and true changing of the culture and changing of our understanding and changing of how we treat these things
Through community.
through community at the grassroots level. Exactly.
What we're doing here.
Right.
So anytime mental health issues are brought up, from my perspective, I'm happy because it raises discussion. And even if someone's saying, "Oh, these are mental health issues," I see that as an opportunity to help rather than a term of judgment. And I see that as an opportunity to try to continually improve our services for mental health, for AODA.
Yeah. Well, I guess we have to wait that one out and see. And in the meantime, you keep doing that work. So then we swing around to how this affects other people, right? We're all in agreement. We don't want people dying from heroin. We don't want people using street level drugs. We don't want people dying from street level drugs or from opioids that in the pill form that they find illegally. Yeah. But then on the other hand, we have
the other side of the same coin.
On the other side, we have people who need opioids, who use them legally, whose
Correctly.
lives are dependent on them being able to have access to these.
And they're dying too.
And to have them taken away is also another death sentence. I read about so many suicides from people who could not get access to their oxycodone or whatever it was they're prescribed, and they finally gave up and said, I can't live this way anymore. I'm going to let Jenn tell her story, but for me personally, I had major surgery in June and was given just a tiny little bit of pills to help me get through a couple days. And then I was left on my own when I called and said, I just need a couple more days. I'm still in a lot of severe pain. And I told Jenn last night, I felt like
abandoned.
I felt like they were looking at me like I was pill seeking, like I was.
You were.
Well,
but I mean,
for a legitimate.
Yeah, for a legitimate reason. That's why I don't like that. I mean, drug seeking. Hey, of course, I'm here to get
guess
medication.
What? It's Friday, and on Monday I was internally bleeding.
Yeah.
I just want to get through the weekend without pain.
But they're so afraid,
or not even without pain, just being able to relax.
Yeah, that's the thing with people in pain.
Recover.
We're never not in pain.
Right.
I mean, you'd have to be unconscious all the time. So, I mean, you have to learn to live. I mean, now I've been dealing with this for a little over 3 years. And in the beginning, the goal for me was, please get this. I want this to go away. I'm going to get better and it's all going to go away. We'll finally get to the point where it's not going to get better. It's going to get progressively worse. And you have to deal with the fact that you are going to have pain. On a good day, my pain will go down to a 3 or a 4. I haven't had zero pain in 4 years, period.
So you're looking at pain management and not.
Yeah, it's managed.
You're not looking to just feel fantastic 100% of the time.
Ever feel fantastic. I mean, I wish I could, but I mean, and most chronic pain patients don't just get up and pop a pill every 4 to 6 hours. I mean, we do yoga, we do mental health therapy. It's a huge part of, the way your brain works. It's got to help with the pain levels. I swim. I stretch. I've had to learn to slow down. I've had to change my life. I'm 38. I've got 2 children. One is about to be 20 and one's 14. And for the past 4 years, they've seen nothing but pain. Mm-hmm. And there's been times where we're changing doctors, and I've had to cut so low on my medicine that all they've seen is their mom curled up in the bed crying.
So you need to take these opioids too.
I take them around the clock.
Right.
Yes.
Just and fast acting and
long
acting.
Yes.
And this is what you need.
For anybody listening, I do have a 9mm and it's loaded and ready to go. So,
Yikes.
Well, it's that bad. People do break in and steal things.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
we have a safe. I mean, that's another thing about being safe. If you go to a real doctor and you sign your contract, which is basically signing your life away to this doctor in order to live your life.
In order to get your pills. So this is the process you have to go through
Yes.
to get your medicine.
Yeah, and in order to get the medication, I also had to go through what's called a neuropsychological evaluation to determine my, addiction potential. I was low, so I guess I was allowed to keep my medicine. But, I mean, that was a long process. They only have one guy that does it, and it was a 6-week wait. And nobody was wanting to prescribe during that wait time. And it was just, it was hell. And then you sign it over and they can call you. And my particular one, you have 24 hours to get into the office to have your pills counted and pee in a cup. I've never broken the law.
So you have to. So what they're checking for is to make sure you're using the correct dosage,
or you're not selling them as soon as you get them, or all of that. I guess Make sure the pee in the cup is obviously to make sure, that you are actually taking them and that you're not taking anything else. But the thing is they call you and you have 24 hours to get in. I mean, we spend half of our time, up in Crystal Falls. They understand that. I let them know when I'm out of town. But what I'm trying to say is, I didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm not on parole. I wasn't in prison. Why am I subjected to this? Because of the way other people handled them. Mm-hmm. And it kind of feels like, for our group of people, it feels like a punishment.
I mean, I can certainly see how it would be insulting being treated like a criminal when you're just simply, but it is the impact of
And I don't want to sound unappreciative, because I know that there's thousands that have lost access. And I'm very thankful, and I guess I have to do my part, and I will do my part to get them. It's just that it's come to this it's
I think
aggravating.
within the medical community, I think this is, the pendulum has swung a little hard the other direction. Yeah. From what I understand, these medicines were more widely available. I mean, oxycodone was,
I wouldn't know anything
impression,
before
the
4
impression
years
they
ago.
give. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The impression they give is that it was sort of flowing like a river to all pain patients, and
Yeah.
and maybe those are the ones that you see in your elderly loved ones, old medicine cabinet, but. This is a reaction to that because of how addictive they are.
It's a knee-jerk reaction.
It is. What would you have someone do for someone like you in chronic pain to try to balance trying to take care of you with understanding these other realities?
I think what I have going right now is, of course, I'm not going to put my clinic and everything out there, but is done very well. Like I said, the hoops I had to jump through to get in was ridiculous. I thought at the time it was ridiculous, but obviously it was needed. They need to weed, and that's their way of getting down to it. I mean, you've got to be analyzed.
So they were really vigilant in
They were,
making sure
and they
that
are.
you.
It's not a word thing. It is
Yeah.
just like you said, you couldn't. These prescriptions are handwritten. I mean, and
Yeah.
this is you don't get more than at the VA. They only fill 28 days. So you get 28 days of medicine. The day you run out, the next morning you come in. You never have any overlap. And I mean, they are very vigilant about it. So for people like, they're just giving these out like candy. And I'm like, where? I mean, because in the past 4 years, that's never been the case for me. And I do respect that they're doing what they have to do. And now that I have that relationship, and that's what you need. You have to give these doctors time to be with their patients. And you have to understand you got to have trust. You have to trust your patient. You have to trust your doctor.
Right, and that's built.
Yeah, and if you lose that, I mean, it's devastating. It can be, and then if somebody doesn't even mess up, and something happens, like your analysis can be wrong. You've just blackballed, but basically in the medical community, you have blacklisted them from ever getting any help. So you got to be very, very careful about what you put in people's files. It can really hurt them. I think the relationship and being at the same place, so I've been at the same place now almost 3 years. I mean, that's a big thing. People are doctor shopping and stuff. I don't really think people can do that anymore. I mean, I guess I could get two, three fake IDs. It'd be very difficult these days to do that. Back in the early 2000s, back in the 90s, sure. You probably could have done it.
And a lot of those, what were considered pill mills, were shut down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, down in Florida and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that you're here, and I really do appreciate you telling your story, because this is you're in a unique situation, and you're dealing with that situation. But I think part of the conversation also has to be that the myth of a pain-free life.
Yeah.
And you're managing it. That's about as good as
there is no pain-free.
Right.
But a lot of people can't accept that when they jump right in.
Absolutely.
Or they don't ever accept it.
You get a taste of that numbness. You get a taste of that, period without pain, and it feels good. You're not worried about the things or whatever the case may be.
And sometimes I wonder about that, about it making you pain-free, because the pain that I experienced when I think I got like 12 oxycodones after my surgery. It didn't take away the pain. It just made it so that I could rest.
Yes.
In order to heal. So if we're giving it to...
You will continue to heal. And I mean, my wife has been through it, so I kind of can relate at some level. And it's, you will get better. And you're
but there are
probably
people
better
that
off
don't
not
get better.
No, and that's a different issue.
Yeah.
Right.
But for those that can get better without continuing to take medicines longer than they need to, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It's ideal I wish I didn't have 30 pills a day.
But I don't think they shouldn't be giving it to people who aren't in enough pain that need it. I mean,
here's the thing, pain is subjective.
Exactly.
We discussed that, right?
That's true.
And
That's true.
back in the early 2000s, and I thought it was a good idea. My mother has been a nurse practitioner for over 30 years. She just retired. And they made pain the fifth vital sign. Pain, one of the nurses, I can't remember her name, I don't have my notes. Pain is what the patient says it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said that's what dug us in the hole.
Exactly.
You know, but It's true.
Yeah.
And another thing you can look for, heart rate,
And I think
eyes. I mean, you're a doctor. You know, they look at blood pressure. They look at these things. Like I said,
Right.
my blood pressure's through the roof if I'm over a 7.
yeah. And I think that's why they do that, like 1 through 10, you know, what is your pain at? Because everybody's is different. But
The sixth vital sign is perhaps emotional state.
right.
Emotional pain can be brutal too.
Right. Right. So
I think it's just a big mix, and you have such strong feelings. Like sometimes I get angry. I told you that, and I don't. For us, for pain patients, we don't have that. I don't want to sound heartless, but that crying mother that lost their son or their daughter to heroin or to hydrocodone or something like that. We don't have that face for our campaign. I mean, all you have is me, you know, limping in here, and they're like, "Oh, she's an adult; she can freaking deal with it. You know, just suck it up." I shouldn't have to. We are 2017. We have these medications.
yeah,
That's what we have them for.
you should be allowed to manage your pain.
I'm an adult. It's supposed to be a free country. Yes.
and live a life. So we have to wrap up. I want both of you to share what would you like to say? Pretend the president is listening here, and what would you like to say to him? He's declaring this national emergency. How can he help? What can he do? And what can other people do?
Mr. President,
President.
what I'd like to see is more money being shifted towards the local for grassroots understanding and dealing with the citizenry of our area. I think it's important that we continue this conversation, thinking about pain, thinking about mental health as well as physical health, and kind of seeing the confluence of the two, and and how pain impacts them. I think that it's hopefully we can take good messages and try to continue our understanding of addiction, of those that are using drugs for chronic pain, and try to not all lump them, not judge, and try to understand instead.
Awesome. Jen, what would you like to say?
I agree with everything that Erik has said. Honestly, I would say stay out of it. And like he says, I said it more bluntly. I'm more blunt with everything. Bring it down to the community level. Keep the federal government out of it. We have enough regulation. We don't need more regulation. People are suffering on both sides of it, and more regulation is not going to help. It's just not going to help. It's killing people on both sides. So you think you're saving some addicts, and you're losing pain patients. So
Yeah.
I mean, when is it going to end?
Right. All right. Fantastic. Thank you both so much. It was a
Thank you.
really, really great conversation. And I'm glad that we had it. And I hope it opens up more conversation with other people and on the Facebook page. And Jen, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing part of your story. I know how hard it is on you, and would really, behalf of me and the whole community, I hope you feel better after your surgery and continue to heal. And thank you, Erik, for working on this and helping people here at our county level.
Yes.
I think the work that you're doing is so important. So
I'm thankful to have met you today. Keep
Yeah.
in touch and work on things with you if I can.
yeah, thanks so much. So that ends Political Radar Echo episode 11. Thank you both again for coming on. For show notes, go to politicalradarecho.com/11. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell to get notifications. For more great political content, you can check out Rhonda on Political Radar Pulse. And if you'd like to support this show, you can like it on Facebook. You can join the Political Radar Echo community on Facebook, and you can buy shirts and other merchandise at politicalradar.com/shop. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for watching Political Radar Echo. To ensure that you'll never miss an episode, subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. To check out more episodes of Political Radar Echo, visit politicalradarecho.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter.